Alright guys, watch this. See this pack of elites? I'm just gonna push one button. Look at that. All gone. Guys, ready for the boss, the Helltide Commander. Alright, we're gonna do this solo. Alright, solo. No one here. Look at that. So the build absolutely shreds trash mobs as well as elites, but how does it fare off against some of the uber bosses? Specifically, Uber Lilith is still kind of like the go-to hardest boss in the game, so we'll go and show it off as this build absolutely eats up all of the brand new Uber bosses very fast, as you can play a huge amount of damage over time into your build, and it's just going to make things super smooth. If you've ever wanted to defeat Uber Lilith, this boss battle is so easy because you actually output so much DPS that these skulls don't actually spawn in phase 2, which you're about to see over here. And I've been consistently able to do this. And it is a very easy, smooth, beginner friendly. Doesn't require any stagger. It doesn't require you to get really anything that is too rare to get this build up and running. It will definitely help if you get one of the uniques called the Gloves of the Illuminator. But as you are going to be progressing, this item is super easy to get. You can farm it via Gregar. It's one of the newer bosses. But this build is excellent for anyone that wants to play a build that is easier to play, and against some of the smaller trash mobs as well as the elites, you can throw in one fireball in a room and it'll just clear out everything. So it feels very responsive, because what happens with the build is when one enemy dies with the fireball, you're going to have another fireball just spawn right there, and that will also cause more explosions, and if they die by them, it's kind of like a chain domino effect. It's one of the coolest builds that I feel like I've ever built, and it's a lot different than what you've seen maybe on other fireball builds, as we are actually a damage over time build. However, it won't feel like damage over time. It's not like you have to sit there and wait for something to tick like if you've ever played a Firewall. It's a very responsive build, and that is simply due to the build being able to consume the dot damage, and that will give you additional damage because you're going to be getting one of the upgrades on Fireball. So let's make this a little bit bigger so you guys can actually read it, and let's go over kind of how the build works. So starting right off, I'm going to have several variations. I know I'm showing off Shaco and a bunch of different things here, but you don't have to have every single thing that I'm mentioning. I'm just going to show you guys min-max. This is what I would recommend, but we will also have one for non-uniques if you just don't happen to roll them, and we'll also have one for like the bosses. If you're interested in Uber bosses, well, you may not need to have, you know, multiple points into teleport. You can actually scale and get a little bit more damage, getting extra burn damage, so you can consume your burn damage with Fireball. So let's go over basically what makes this build work and why is it super strong in Season 2. So since crit damage got moved over, everyone and their mom wanted to start playing some damage over time. And so with this build, we did the exact same with the Greater Fireball. So normally people would get the one that gives you crit damage. That was kind of like the go-to, but crit and vulnerable all got nerfed. So with Greater Fireball, what it allows us to do is make it so we are going to be dealing 10% of the burning damage that we've applied to enemies as additional direct damage. So the more dot damage we get, the more flat damage we get. And there is a really awesome thing in Season 2 called Flowing Veins. Flowing Veins will just give us extra damage against targets that are going to be taking some extra dot damage, and Flowing Veins is going to be excellent for that. So basically we just get like 60x multiplicative damage over time, which really helps out. And we don't have to maintain or manage really anything here, because with our enchantments on Fireball and Firebolt, it's just all automated, which makes things very nice. Now if you are going into a boss, since Fireball's special enchantment ability only works on kill, you could just swap it to Hydra. And I really wanted to play Hydra because it's really powerful if you let it kind of do a bunch of ticks, but it doesn't feel very good if you're just using Hydra. So basically what it comes down to is when there's a boss, you throw down your Hydras and you can just let that kind of tick, and you will still just be spamming fireballs, but it doesn't feel super slow, and you'd have to like walk around waiting for things to happen. So that's why I really liked this build. So starting right off, let's go over some of the itemization as well as the skills and go over how the build works. So as far as our enchantment goes, Fireball, kind of explained that already. When one thing dies, it pops, more fireballs will start spawning in, and that's how we have this chain domino effect. Another thing I want to mention is the Gloves of the Illuminator. This is kind of a frequently asked question, which is how do we get our fireballs to bounce, and how are we getting so many? So Gloves of the Illuminator will shoot out your fireball, and that will bounce 4 times. Now ideally you want to try to hit the target with 2 fireballs because of a overlap. So get the target kind of in the center. It's really easy for the bosses. For the trash mobs, you don't really have to worry about it at all. Most bosses are relatively large. Some of the world bosses you may be able to even hit 3 times with 1 fireball. fireball. This is essentially what gives it so much damage and what makes it super fun. And remember, that bonus damage that you get off the dot damage that is ticking is going to be applying every single time that you hit, because that's every single time that the fireball is going to be actually doing damage. That's why it's really strong. So starting right off in terms of the skills, Fireball, that's our source of damage. Hydra, only throw it off for like any bosses in Nightmare Dungeons, or if there's a Helltide boss, you can throw it up there. Then we just have both of our shields, just like any Sorceress build that would have some sort of defenses. And I really like them because if you're about to take big damage, you can just activate them. If you're doing one of the rooms where there is that lightning thing that comes down, you can just pop it right before that hits, and you don't have to even do anything with that shield bubble, which I absolutely love. And then we have the ice shield, it's just extra shield. And then Inferno, what that is, that's our ultimate. We have a ability to actually gain infinite energy once this is up. It's only really utilized for bosses. It also applies dot damage, so it's great for going to the bosses, but it also groups up enemies. But pretty much if you just throw a fireball, most of the stuff clears out. I kind of like it visually. It's just kind of a really cool skill, but pretty much only used for bosses for extra resource, as we will get a bunch of resource on kill. However, unfortunately, on most bosses, there's not a bunch of smaller things to actually kill, so we don't get that. So that's where Inferno comes in. And we want to maintain high energy to basically have 100 plus crit. And it's easy to get over 100 crit in this build. And then we have Teleport, so it's just more ability. Now, as far as the pieces of gear, again, I'm going to mention what is going to be the best in slot, but there will be multiple build links here. So if you don't happen to have Shaco or even Godslayer or any good, helmet unique, don't worry. There's other options here, and that will also be there. But of course, I'm going to show you guys what to do in terms of getting the best stuff. So in terms of items, again, for your helmet, you can go for max life, Hydra, cooldown reduction, maximum mana, and you can go for like Aspect of Fortune, so extra lucky hit chance while you have a barrier. It's great stuff. And then for our chest piece, we can go for Disobedience, and then what I'm going to do, just so this video isn't super long, you can just go to the website. It'll tell you kind of the gear stat priority, what you're looking for. But Aspect Disobedience is great. Then we want to try to get Gloves of the Illuminator. This one, well, you're not going to go for gear stat priority, but it's there if you happen to need it. And then Tibalt's Will is a really great pair of pants. What it does is gives us extra resource, and it gives us a massive amount of damage. I love these pants. And they also give us maximum resource. That's another stat that you want to get. So you want to get maximum mana. It's also in the Paragon board that you'll see. We want to get lots of mana, because more mana is basically more uptime on high damage. But Tibalt's Will, anytime we teleport, we just get 50 mana. It's awesome. But if you don't have it, again, there will be other options. Esu's Heirloom, these are some boots. You can get these from Varshan, super easy to get. It just gives us extra crit strike chance, which is very awesome. It also gives us resource cost reduction, which is something we will actually value, and that's how I kind of have infinite mana. More crit and more mana is going to be more damage, essentially. So our first aspect is going to be Aspect of Ancient Flame. So when we use one of our key passives, which is Esu's Ferocity, we're basically just going to get 50% extra attack speed. It's excellent. And then on our amulet over here, we're going to be trying to get Elementalist Aspect, and that's going to make it so core or mastery skills at or above 100 mana is going to give us increased critical strike chance. We get 40 crit chance from this, and you can see our mana is about 200. So as long as our mana is above halfway mark, we're going to be getting just 100% crit. That's why all the numbers, and to answer the question, how are you just getting so much crits? It's because of this. We basically always crit. And then we're running Incendiary Aspect just for more mana. And then we are running Edge Masters for extra damage. It's really good. You can also run the Hydra one if you want to have more Hydras. It helps out against bosses, but on most maps, it depends on what you want to do. If you want to run double Hydras, that's totally fine too. Double Hydras is better for bossing, but if you're just looking to clear maps, or if you're just doing Helltide, Edge Masters is excellent. But on the rings, it is kind of important to try to go for, if you can, any sort of plus mana, lucky hit chance, resource generation, maximum life, any variation of those is excellent. So look for those. Another thing I want to mention is X-Falls, because that is one of the newer uniques that can drop from Uberdurial. It doesn't actually work off of multiple sources of the same damage type. So I was hoping that we would apply all these different sources of burn with our Firebolt enchantment, and it does not actually work. It only lets you have one tick going at a time, unfortunately. So that ring is going to be, unfortunately, not useful, because that's a frequently asked question, and originally I wanted to play with that. In my original theory crafted bit, I'm like, dude, this is going to be insane, but it's not as broken as I would want it to be. Next up, though, we have the aspect of the 3 curses. So this over here is going to make it so we get to increase the critical strike damage of meteor and fireball by X. Okay, the X is always important. That means multiplicative, 20 to 40%, and you get a double against healthy enemies. So you basically have 8 crit multi, but the old one, okay, against those enemies, and that's when they're healthy, meaning that they're basically near like full HP. So this is excellent. So it's going to melt stuff very fast. Now, the more important thing on your offhand over here is to specifically get mana cost reduction, and cooldown reduction is great as well. But you can also get Lucky Hit grants you resource. That is another thing that can be quite great to get. So if you can get any of those variations, try to go for that. You could also get Life on Kill. Life on Kill isn't really bad either. Next up, as far as the gems go, honestly, it's kind of up to you. If you want to run Emeralds, if you run Amethyst, choose what you want to go for. Honestly, I tried testing out both. Without the DPS dummy, it's really hard to see what actually does more damage, because sometimes when I'm calculating and doing some of these like calculation to see which one is better, if it's not like a huge difference, I'm just going to say, well, it's a margin of error in terms of like what is better. But you can maybe put one of each and then decide for yourself, later, because if one's better, at least you have half of it, right? And then we have a ruby here, and then we have a diamond. But yeah, as far as the like gems go, to kind of answer the question, because this is something that some people may wonder, is Amethyst better or Emerald? Honestly, in my testing, I couldn't find a huge difference. My theory is that Emerald will be better against just trash monsters, and if you just want to kill like lots of things really, really fast, Emerald's going to be better. But if you're doing bosses, an Amethyst would be better. Amethyst will give you more damage over time, and some of the trash monsters, I mean, you're going to one-shot them anyway, so it's up to you on what you want to run. And as far as the Vampiric Powers, Ravenous is in every single build because it's the best thing. It gives us, with this build, we will easily, once we just activate Esu's little dodge, we're just going to get more movement speed, and that's going to give us 80% attack speed on top of the 50%, which gives us room for error on the aspect of Ancient Flame being perfect. 100% attack speed is the maximum value, so you will have pretty much, in most circumstances, 100% attack speed. So that's how I'm attacking so fast. Next up, Prey on the Weak. This is one of the best things in the game as well. It's going to be able to make it so while you deal damage, you're going to do increased damage to vulnerable enemies, and enemies are vulnerable while affected by a vampiric curse from your other vampiric powers. And then to get extra survivability, Sanguine Brace is excellent. So this is going to give us fortification. That's how I have it in the gameplay. It's just good to kind of have so you can not have a bunch of defensive things and you can just run a bunch of uniques. I really like it to apply Fortify, but it also gives us crit strike chance. Remember, for over a certain amount of mana, we're going to get a massive amount of bonus crit, so it lets us get extra crit. But if you're doing bosses, what you do want to do is swap that out because, well, you're not going to be killing things, so you want to run Feed the Coven, which is going to give you 10% more multiplicative damage, extra resource, and it's a chance on your Conjuration, which is basically Hydra. That's going to give us extra resource against bosses, so that's kind of one that you can swap in and out if you want to do uber bosses. And then Flowing Veins is just more damage. It's 60x multiplicative damage over time to enemies that are afflicted via a vampiric curse. And we have a Curse Touch, so this is how we apply vulnerability without even needing to. So a Curse Touch and Prey on the Weak basically give us vulnerability and more damage against vulnerable targets. These two in combo are so great because then you don't have to use your Frost Nova, which is one reason why I hated playing Sorceress in Season 0 and Season 1. So that's a huge difference. And as far as our skills go, there's not anything that's super important that I need to mention here in terms of this skill tree. But one thing that is kind of nice is getting the extra regen over here. It's called Fiery Surge. It just gives us extra regen when we kill a burning enemy, which is every enemy, because Fire Bolt will apply that for us. Now, there are several different variations of the build, and again, these will all be linked down below because, you might not have some of the uniques, but as far as some of the other things that you can swap into, if I'm fighting bosses, again, I want to swap to Feed the Coven. This is the boss variant, so we actually throw in Firewall against the bosses to apply more burn. More burn equals more fireball damage because it's going to add more to the dot damage. Now, as far as the Paragon Board, it is really important that you guys actually copy this exactly because the specific timings of putting the boards do matter because it requires more into a stat. Like this Paragon Board is absolutely beautiful. While I was making it like every single area where it's getting you bonus amounts of what's called non-physical damage. So non-physical damage means that it will give you everything. That's poison damage, that's shadow damage, that's obviously going to be your elemental, which is fire, lightning, and cold. And what makes Sorceress super powerful is this specific node right here. This one over here makes it so our conjurations have 10% reduced Cooldown or mana cost, that doesn't matter. But they also deal bonus damage equal to x3 of the total amount of your bonus damage with fire, lightning, and cold. This scales to way over 1,000 if you copy it exactly. Again, make sure you guys check the website and copy this exactly, because this is going to be an insane DPS increase to specifically Conjuration, which is Hydra. So this is what adds way more burn damage, which is awesome. Yeah, this thing is so powerful because it triple dips. When they were saying that on the live stream, everyone was freaking out, and yeah, it's pretty good. So that's a very, very important thing to actually go for. We actually may make just a pure like Hydra build just with this. Like, this thing is so good because, again, your damage just goes through the roof. So I guess the important thing is to go over maybe like what, just in case someone wants to not use the website, but starter board is Unleash, Master, Enchanter, Elementalist, and then the order matters, okay, for this. That's very important. And then we get Elemental Summoner with Flame Feeder. And then we will then go up and get Frigid Fate. This is also something that's important that is new. Even though this is technically a cold area, because it's Frigid Fate, we get to do bonus damage to vulnerable enemies, x10 of the amount of our bonus damage with cold, up to a maximum of x30. We're going to get over 300% of all the damage. So scaling non-physical will scale fire damage, obviously, which is what we're playing, but also scales cold damage. So all the bonuses to all the other elements, you can get them without even getting any cold damage, which is absolutely awesome. And this is why most people, if you've noticed, there are a lot more sorceresses this season. It's because of that change, specifically all the non-physical. And where you put this in matters, because this one will give you increased non-physical damage, and you want to put this where an area where it goes to 70, so that's Frigid Fate. Again, just copy it exactly and you'll be good to go. And then we have Ceaseless Conduit. The reason why I really like this is you get a bunch of movement speed after you kill an elite. Movement speed is more damage because of Ravenous. That's going to give us more attack speed, and then we're going to put in Destruction over there. And then at the final node, we're going to be getting Searing Heat. Another thing that I want to mention, as far as when you're reading, to try to get that 100% crit chance, because it's really easy to get in this build. Esu's, actually, there's a couple bugs I'm going to mention. Esu's doesn't register, like the numbers will not register. Like if you mouse over, Esu's will not show up. Another thing that will not show up right now, keep in mind, hopefully these bugs will get fixed. These bugs don't really matter that much in terms of gameplay. I'm just like mentioning because I always tell you guys, you want to get 100% crit with this build because it's how you get insane amounts of damage. It won't show up in your, if you go mouse over crit, this won't count because it's specifically on pyromancy skills, which is basically your fire stuff. Another thing that I wanted to mention, pyromancy, frost, and shock skills do not count as your element damage to like lightning, fire, and cold. It's a separate one, so it does not count, just as a heads up on like any of your rolls. Like if you get bonus, let's say it's pyro instead of your bonus fire, even though pyro and fire should be kind of linked to each other, it does not count for this. If it did, it wouldn't really matter that much anyways, because you're not going to try to scale like pyro damage. If you look at all like the rolls, you don't really need to go for it, but I'm just mentioning this just for like extra knowledge so you actually know. But yeah, that is the Bouncing Fireball build. Try it out, guys. Let me know what you think of it. And a lot of you guys have been asking, is this better than the Ball Lightning build? We're going to be playing all of them. Honestly, I mean, you guys saw the gameplay. Both the builds are absolutely amazing. I even have gameplay of just another player. We're kind of just doing both fire and lightning, and they're both are very strong. They're both going to be considered like the strongest builds, I would say, this season for Diablo. This is what I would consider, this is the best Fire Sorceress build I've played in a while. Because if you've ever played Fire Sorceress back in like season 0 and 1, it's not the same at all. This build absolutely is the best Fire build in the game, and Ball Lightning is the best Lightning build in the game. But we're going to be playing both. I'll give you guys both gameplay. So for those of you guys that are saying, no, the Fire one is better, no, the Lightning one is better, they're both amazing, guys. The difference between this and the other one is this, I can throw a fireball and it literally clears out the room, and it's just one pops, and then it just starts a chain reaction. It's super satisfying. Whereas the other one, you have to throw down a bunch of the balls, and then you just have to like walk into relatively kissing distance to the enemies to actually min-max in DPS. But it does do a lot of stagger, and this build does not really have stagger. It does kind of immobilize if you want to put the points in, which kind of help out in survivability. But yeah, there's multiple different variations, so check them out. Maybe swap things in and out depending on your playstyle. But that's going to wrap things up. That's the Bouncy Fireball build for this season, one of the best Sorceress builds. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you want to see any updates to this build, or if you have any questions, let me know down below in the comment section below. But subscribe if you're new, and I'll update you guys with some more awesome Sorceress builds. I got a lot more builds coming for Sorceress because this class is so much better in Season 2. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.